You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Here's Kevin.
So one thing that's changed in the last, year and a half with regards to the agency business is obviously this work from home explosion. And, it sort of changed the staffing dynamic, right? So, there's definitely a difference in the way we're hiring now than the way we were hiring 2 years ago. There's this inherent sort of tug of war behind, like, particularly in the creative side of the business, that you get some dynamic from being in an office together, right? But at the same time, some people have a preference for working from home, and also you have to sort of leave yourself the option of recruiting, remotely, simply because of the staffing shortages in the industry of people who actually know what they're doing. The really great people in particular, right? So has that sort of changed your perspective on sort of the HR chapters of the book, of how one would execute?
Well, it's interesting because the book came out in Audible format and in Kindle format a few weeks ago. It comes out in paperback on the 26th of September in the US, and you can get the paperback in the rest of the world already. So there was certainly I added a chapter into the book on emergency planning and crisis management, because there are some derivatives of the scale at speed frameworks and tools that work brilliantly in a crisis, it turns out. My own business has been fundamentally changed. We run monthly workshops with a growth lab team in every client that we work with. We're doing workshops the whole time, and we had to transition pretty much overnight to running, 8-person workshops on Zoom. Now, what's really interesting is that it did change the dynamic slightly, in that when you're running a workshop, and I'll port this to then how this applies to the wider world shortly, but when we're running workshops, one of us has got to facilitate, and we're trying to pay attention to 8 other people, 8 attendees' reactions. Now, when you're in a room, that's really, really easy. You've got loads of bandwidth. When you're in a Zoom situation, or sort of 2D, if you like, you don't get that bandwidth. You can't have side jokes. There's no sort of reading each other's minds and signaling for a coffee and stuff like that. So it becomes extremely focused. And what we found was that meetings and workshops became much more efficient, less colorful, less funny, less humane, actually, but much more efficient. And for us, efficiency and effectiveness is what we're about. We are doubling. Our clients are paying us a hell of a lot of money to guarantee to double their revenue, right? And that's a big thing. So the more focus, the better. So for some things, for getting things done, this has actually been a boon. This remote working. Now, but I miss that humanity. I miss that sort of the human connection, and the fact that, so I had the last day with a client where I'd sold them for a ridiculous amount of money, pretty much on the last day of the 2-year program. And so my last day with them, I went in and saw them because they're 25 miles away from here. And so we met outside on a sunny day in a pub to do this full day workshop. And that was when I realized that you miss the kind of the side channels that are constant when you're in a room of people. The running jokes, the passing things to people, the whispered asides, none of which can happen in. But the other effect was interesting. When you're on Zoom, you have to make certain that you're understanding everybody correctly. So it's actually very difficult to misinterpret if you're doing it right. If I want to find out whether or not you've understood me, the only way for me to know that is not through osmosis and guessing because you're sat next to me. It's by saying to you, did that make sense? Do you have any questions about it? What do you think you heard? Yeah, I have to confirm. So it's almost a consent thing. It's almost, You're explicitly asking consent to move on, explicitly asking, have you understood? And everything becomes very open. And provided you've got good facilitation, a good, team of people who share values, then it can actually create an additional level of communication and clarity, which can be much more effective than doing it in a sort of a relaxed face-to-face environment.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in the Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.